Hi everyone, welcome to another tutorial. I've had a lot of questions recently about doing battle damage, especially doing battle damage on different colours as well as different surfaces. So in this video I'm just going to try and go over a few different ways of doing battle damage, and especially over the different coloured surfaces as well. A lot of people have been asking about how to do battle damage over black armour, for example, and I'm going to show a few different techniques as well. So I've just got a selection of different images here. So I'm going to recap a few things which we've already seen in some previous videos, but I'll do them anyway just in case you've not seen those, and then I'll do a few new things as well, and hopefully there'll be something in here for everybody, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we're back in just a second. Okay, so getting started, we're just going through the recap now. So you might have seen this before in the how to paint white armor video. So I'm just going to recap about doing battle damage over the white area. So what we did is we showed two ways of doing it. So the first way you can do it is just to take some of your highlight color. In this case, it was white, and then just paint out an area where you want the battle damage first. So let's say this corner, you'll paint that whole area white first where you want the battle damage to be. And then you'll take your shade colour. So we'll take some Storm Vermin Fur just on the palette, just a small amount on the brush. And then inside that area which we've just painted, paint some of that shade colour. And it'll appear as a scratch. When I do this, I like to sort of dot it on because it gives it that scratchy sort of random appearance. That was one way of doing the scratches on the white armour. And the other way was to take your shade colour first and you use your different shades. So I had a darker shade on this, which was Skaven Blight Dinge as well. So I'll just take a little bit of that. Let's say we want to scratch just on the leg here. So you do your dark area first. There. And then take your highlight colour. So we only had one highlight on here, so that was white. And just try and focus your highlight towards the bottom of the scratch. Just highlight underneath, and it will give that appearance that the paint's peeled up, making the darker area appear to be in recess, so like a scratch. So there we go. So there was the two ways of doing it over the white. Okay, so just going back onto the yellow Space Marine, which we recently did. So showing you again a couple of ways of doing that. So take the highlight colour, this was Dawn Yellow. So let's say you want to scratch on his knee there. Paint the whole area where you want the scratch. You can make it quite a big one. Like that. So you've got a light scratch. Take one of your shade colours, so we'll take Doomball now, just on the palette. And I'll focus this towards the top of that area, so it'll leave the lighter colour just underneath. So I'll follow that pattern, just dabbing and dotting. There, that'll give the appearance of a scratch. That's one way. And the same as with the white tutorial, you can do your dark area first. So let's put a scratch on here. Just a big scratch. There. So paint that first and take your light colour and just add a small highlight underneath. It's really up to you which way you do it, which way you prefer. Generally I prefer to do the darker area first because then you can paint out a little bit if you've done too much with a lighter colour. So just adding that highlight underneath, giving the appearance of a scratch. So as I said before, just the scratches in the middle of the panels, try and make them random, and then you can focus ones around the edges. Yep, so that's the yellow one, and we'll go on to another one in a second. Okay, so battle damage over like darker colours now. So we've got a Dark Angel leg here. This is something I did earlier. So what you can do is you go, okay, so you use your shade colour for the scratch. Now in this case, black is probably not going to work very well. You can just do a black scratch if you want to. You can try it and then have your highlight underneath. Let's just show you anyway so you can see. So we just put like a Scarsnick green highlight underneath that just to show. what I mean. So I mean, you can only really see it very faintly, and you can just see the highlight of the scratch. What I found is with the darker colours, it's nice to add a contrasting colour to what you've got there. So we've got a dark green, so a really warm brown would work quite nicely for a scratch on that. So I'm just going to take a bit of Doom Bull, and I'll show you what I mean. So let's say just on the corner here. So doing again, just painting out the area we want. Do another one here. And we'll take a highlight colour. So just that light green again. And add the highlight underneath. And that contrasting colour works really well against that green. It gives you a nice visual effect rather than just a darker colour. So you can see that there. And it works quite nicely. It makes it feel like there's an undercoat underneath. Let's say you've got like a larger scratch like that and there's a lot of brown showing. At that point you would show the colour of the armour as it is without any paint on. So I'd probably go, like I've mentioned before, Space Marines aren't metal, they're ceramite. So it's either grey or cream. I like to use grey. So I'll probably just take a little bit of grey and just dot that in the corner. Just to show, okay, so that's the colour of the armour without any paint on. So it's showing a few layers there. So you've got the armour colour layer, there's that brown sort of undercoat colour which is contrasting there. Then you've got your highlight there as well. So it's sort of giving you the appearance of a few layers. If you want to, you can use a lighter grey there in the very corner. You can really add a lot of more to these battle damage areas if you want to. So hopefully you can see that corner now, you can see what's going on. So that's quite nice. So it's up to you whether you use the black or brown or a mixture of both. It's really up to you. And then if you want, you can use lighter browns for some of your scratches as well. Like this is scrag brown, so I could pop a little bit of scrag brown in there. A bit too much. And you can have some lighter scratches and some darker ones going around. So that's dark green. Okay, so now we do some battle damage over black. So now you've got no shade colour to use for the scratches. So you either use a contrasting colour like we did with the Dark Angel leg. So in this case, we've got like a cool, cool blue black. So contrasting with that would be like a warm brown, which we'll do in a second. Or you could just take the highlight colour and start and just add a few scratches if you wanted to. If you didn't want to go too much, you could. So in this case, I'm just going to take a bit of Fenrisian grey because that was one of the highlight colours we did on this leg. And you can just add a few little nicks here and there. Not too much. You could just add that here and there if you wanted to. And focus that on the corners. What I like to do with black is this instead. So I take some Doom Bull. So this is a warm brown. And then we'll just add a highlight on the leg. So paint out the scratch area you want. So you can see I'm just dotting it on, just randomly building the shape. Yeah, so we've got like a warm brown area. Take the highlight colour, Fenrisian grey. You can do the same thing, give the appearance that that paint's been knocked off. So just having a highlight there underneath. Just following the pattern, dabbing your brush on. You can see we've got like a scratch now. So that brown is representing what's underneath that black layer of paint. And then, like we did on the Dark Angel one, is if you want to show a little bit more depth with that scratch, you can just take some grey. Well, you've got the largest area of brown, just add a dot of grey in that corner. If you want to, you'll just show a little bit more. So it's not all brown. The brown's really there just to separate those two surfaces, those two colours. I showed on my other videos with painting Space Marines is you'll see people do scratches like this on a lot of things. So it'll be just like lines. And I don't really like that too much. I prefer this sort of subtle, small. I mean, these are miniatures, so they're smaller versions of something that's supposed to be big. So making your scratches big and harsh like that, it really detracts from the scale of the model. So if you're keeping them small like this, it's quite nice. So just keep them tight and small. It works really well. And you can just do as many as you want. Play around with it, different shades of brown. Try and vary that up. So it's all the scratches are done at different times and they're at different depths as well. So to do like a bullet mark, I'd probably go like a bigger mark. So let's do one on his leg. So let's say the bullet's striking the leg. So I'll do the line of the bullet like this and then paint out, dot on the area where the bullet struck here. So it's a line and then a larger brown area, like where the bullet would have hit, like that. And then I'll take my highlight colour. I think you're sensing a pattern now. And then underneath there, just emphasise that area with a little highlight, just dotting it on. Just a little highlight, and then I go, okay, so that's taken off a lot of the paint there now, so we want to get some grey to show the armour colour underneath. So in the middle of that brown area, just dotting in some grey. Then I'll take a little bit lighter grey. So where the very centre of that bullet strike is, just do a slight little dot there where it's taken out most of the paint. So this is the brightest area, there is the deepest. It's where it's hit, it's where you can see most of that scratch. So hopefully you can see that effect there. It was just to show you guys what you can do with black for scratches. Okay. Another thing you can do with battle damage, instead of using a brush to put it on, you can use different things. So you can use sponges and things like that, or you can use wire wool. So I've just got a little bit of sponge here, so you can see it there, and I just tore off a corner of sponge, and you can have it as small as you want and just shape it. So I'm just going to show you what you can do with this. So you take your sponge and then take your shade colour, so just dab a bit of that in the shade colour. So I've just got a tiny amount on the sponge there, and I want some chips on the shoulder pad. So just gently, this is giving you that randomness which I talked about earlier. You can press it on and it adds a bit of texture to the pad. Obviously it depends on how you whether it's a big sponge, a large sponge, what type of texture the sponge has got. It'll give you a different finish. And this works really well for vehicles especially. And you can just focus it in a couple of areas. Just dab it on there. So let's say you've got that area there, and then once you've done that, you take your highlight colour. So I already showed you it was white, and you can just go over and just pick out a few of those with a highlight underneath. And this works very well on tanks and large things, like I said, but it also works on Space Marines on these larger areas. You can see that there. a different type of finish, I think, to what we've got going on down here, but you can see that it works as well. Obviously, you'll paint out your shoulder pad trim. So that was that. So you got, so we did that with the darker area. So you can also do it with a lighter area first as well. So if I take the yellow Space Marine we did, and just take some of the Dawn Yellow highlight, get some of that on there, you can see. And we'll just dab that on. Down there, focus on the corner. So you can't get brushwork like that. That's random, really. So, and that's what you want. So this is quite good. It's quite fast as well. Take your brush. Get your shade colour this time rather than your highlight colour. So we're going with the Doom Ball. Now we're just adding a shade above it rather than highlighting underneath it. And if you get a small enough sponge, you can really focus in on some areas as well. I've made some before where I've cut the sponge down and attached it to the end of a paintbrush and dabbed it on with that. That's quite useful, especially if you're doing a lot of it. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this technique as well, because it works quite well. So there you go. So that's the sponging technique. Okay, so do a little bit on this orc now. This is an orc colour test I did a while ago. It was going to be an army, but hey, it's just one model. So there's a few things which, just looking at this now, I did a little bit of battle damage on him at the time. And one of the interesting things is, so painted his armour with this blue, military blue colour. And then I did some yellow markings over there. This is Avalon Sunset markings over Thunderhawk blue. And what I did was, so I knew that the orc he would have his blue armour, and then he would paint the markings over. And then obviously he would get messy and dirty and his armour would get chipped. So I've done a few layers there of different types of chipping. So it's where the paint's peeled off. We see some of the blue, which is underneath. And then we've got that contrasting brown, which we talked about earlier, for the chips. Well, you could use the dark blues if you wanted to, but I thought with the orcs it really enhances that battle damage there. So I did just done a chevron, like a line down his helmet there. So what I'd probably do at that point is I'd take some of the colour that the helmet's painted in this case it's Thunderhawk blue, and I'd probably just knock off a few of those edges, just so it won't be so harsh, just to show that battle damage there, and it's sort of scratched away. That straightness of the line. It works really well with orcs, but you can do this with anything like Space Marine tank markings and things. Just once you've applied your transfers or your chevrons or whatever it is, just dot on a little bit of that colour that you base coated with, just to go, okay, it's natural, it's sitting on there and it belongs on there. And then once you've done that, you can get your contrasting chip colour. So when you're doing battle damage and chips, just think, okay, can I go dark out or can I contrast with it? Which is like the opposite. And then you can have a few battle damage marks there across that. Just here and there, just like we've done on the rest of the armour, you can see. And then you can highlight those as well, if you want to. So you get the same sort of effect that's going on across the rest of that model. And then, so just showing, so this orc's helmet's probably made out of metal. So rather than the Space Marine, which was ceramite, so we didn't use any metallics with that. So what I'd probably do here is, let's say his corner of his helmet's been really bashed, and it's knocked off all the paint here. Do that brown area first, that nice contrasting area. And then I get a highlight colour, get some Fenrisian grey. Do the thing we've been doing all video, which is highlighting underneath. Giving the illusion the paint's peeled up. Okay. You can see that now, that's working really well. So we've got that dark brown there. So then I'd take like a lead belcher, it's like a dark metal colour. And then I'd pick out the edge, dotting it on again. I think that's the secret of the battle damage, you just dot it on, don't paint it normally. So I'll try and keep it in focus for you guys. So paint your metal area there in the corner. So you've got the warm brown, the highlight, the metallic area. And then what you can do then is, so this is the dull silver. Take a brighter silver like storm hose silver. So where you're going to see the most and the harshest where it's been hit, just put that on the corner. The battle damage there. And if you do that across the orc or across vehicles and things, it works quite well. So you get that there. I mean, I didn't do any of that across here, but it's nice to do on those larger areas, and it gives a nice texture to the surface. And then if you do want to do battle damage on metallic areas like his gun, I mean, you probably see there I've just had the odd nick here and there, so you'll just do the same thing basically. So what's the highlight colour, what's the shade? So let's say he's got a big scratch on his magazine there, so I'll just paint the scratch on with the silver. And you can either go really dark brown, warm brown, black if you want to pick out the scratch. Just use a dark brown here. You got a scratch there with a highlight. If you find you go over it too much, you can always just go back, just dot on a little bit more. So there's the scratch on the gun. And then just going on from what I was saying about the orc, so we've got your ultramarine symbol here on the blue background. So this was a transfer that was applied, and obviously if that transfer is applied on and then just left, it kind of feels like it sits over the surface and doesn't belong on the surface. So what I did, and I'll just demonstrate a little bit now, was just to make that transfer feel like it's painted on and it's, it belongs on there. You just take out some of your basic colour, so this McCrag blue, and then just dot off some of that white area as if you want your Space Marines battle damage. So I'm just showing you that you can do this on large vehicles. It really works really well on those. And just take off some of that white a little bit, and it really makes it feel like, oh, okay, that is actually painted on there and it belongs on there, rather than just a harsh, like a harsh transfer sitting on there as well. Also demonstrated on this, so we've got the battle damage, which I've been showing you guys, which is what we've been doing. I started doing a little bit on here. So this is the stuff, which I don't know why I'm seeing a lot of it, and I think it's just a personal taste thing. It just makes those models feel like they've been attacked by Tyranids quite a lot. So you'll see people doing really big scratches. And it's okay here and there if you want to do that, but you'll see people really get carried away with it. And I mean, if that's what you want, that's the style, that's fine. Sometimes these scratches do occur, and sometimes they can look okay, but just be wary about overdoing it. So I'll show you anyway, in case you do want that finish. So you can have those sort of scratches as well. If you prefer, you can do a bit of both, you can mix it up. So that's basically the same way of doing it, is paint your light scratch and then do your dark area, or do it the other way around, paint your dark scratch and then highlight underneath. And I've said that now, and that actually doesn't look too bad. But yeah, there you go. You live, you learn. But yeah, I mean, if you do that, don't do too much of it. A little bit of both might be all right. And then this is the same thing here. So we've got our contrasting brown with our highlights underneath there as well. So yeah, so I just wanted to go through some battle damage for you guys so you could see. I think the main thing was that people really wanted to see the battle damage over the black. So obviously it was a bit confusing with no shade, where you'd normally just shade, as I've shown on the other Space Marine one. So use warm browns, don't go overboard with it. And you don't have to use the warm brown, you can just add the odd dot here and there, the odd little scratch, and that will give the same appearance of a little bit of the paint's been chipped off. So there you go. So I'm hoping the battle damage one's been okay, and you guys can apply it across some of your miniatures, none of your miniatures. It really depends on the finish you want, and it works really well on vehicles as well, especially what I was showing with the orc here as well. you know, chipping out, taking away the silver and showing the armor color underneath and things as well. So anyway, I'll be quiet now, and I'll see you in the next tutorial, guys. Thank you. Bye.